Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rock and Turk Sports Show. My name is Rocco Foggio, and I'm one of the hosts of the show, and I am the #1 enemy of the fanboy. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Justin, get that bum out of here, Turk.
Get out of here.
And Dom, the ref, Regio.
The ref.
For any of our new listeners, we're a couple former athletes turned coaches that will be bringing you the week's top national and local sports stories, and we'll be focusing heavily on the NFL, college, and high school football seasons, and discussing all the topics using our unique sports perspective and experiences that we've garnered as players and now as coaches. When we get the show kicked off every week now, I go through what's called Rock's Rant.
Tell them why you mad, son.
Tell them why I'm mad.
Tell them why you mad.
So this week, my rant is going to be against the NFL versus Ezekiel Elliott. For all you guys who don't know, Ezekiel Elliott was suspended 6 games over a domestic violence dispute. And what's a little bit, I don't want to say fishy or funny about this is that, as always, the NFL, because of the way they handled the Ray Rice situation and fumbled the ball, that now they kind of go overboard. And even so, a lot of these cases, not only domestic violence, but any kind of suit in the NFL or a guy that's convicted or not convicted, charged with something, they automatically punish them, even if the courts or the police haven't finished their investigation or concluded there's nothing there. So the case of Ezekiel Elliott, he was accused of a domestic assault on his ex-girlfriend, and the police basically came up with nothing. Not enough to charge him, not enough evidence, nothing to charge him, went about his way. But oh no, the NFL took 13 months to decide that he's guilty. So okay.
When you say NFL, you mean Goodell, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I just give it under the umbrella. But the NFL he's paid by the NFL, so the owners pay him. So I'm just considered all the NFL. So basically, he was punished 6 games, suspended for 6 games, and so the police dropped the case. There was enough evidence. So now the NFL is giving out punishment in the absence of proof. They disregarded the police investigation results. Now, leading through this 13-month process, it was the NFL refused to do an interview with some key witnesses for Ezekiel Elliott until today. And then also Roger Goodell did not. Now in the Ray Rice situation, he spoke to Ray Rice and his wife. In this situation, he did not speak to any party that was involved before making the decision. So with this, there's a flawed system, and even worse, Goodell's a lawyer, a former lawyer. So the way that they go about this is not a good process and not very analytical or using logic. Now, part of it is it's the player's fault because of the collective bargaining agreement. They need to fix that when it rolls around again. But what my rant about this is, and being a former player and understanding what happens, is that this is a very important decision that they're getting ready to make. They just concluded his appeal today, so they'll get a verdict by next week. But why I say this is really important, because the evidence that came out was that they say he assaulted her, and the only evidence that they have is that she took pictures of bruises. So in essence, no one saw the assault. It's his word against hers, and she has some pictures that they had some people come in there and say, well, the metadata from the text message and the story she told, it all matches up. Well, that's all well and good. I'm not saying if he did it, then he should get in trouble. But right now, the burden of proof is that it's just he said, she said with some pictures of bruises. And when I say this is opening Pandora's box is because there's a lot of, there's a lot of good women out there. There's a lot of, trash women out there. And they're out there scheming on these guys, trying to get over on them. And so now you're saying that if the suspension goes through, then what some of these skeezers out here can do is say, hey, I'm gonna smack myself, I'm gonna bruise myself up, I'm gonna text myself and other people, whatever, and I'm gonna say this dude did this, and then they're gonna try to blackmail these athletes. Which part of the story is also that she was trying to blackmail him with some type of evidence of sex tape or something. That's kind of. And she changed her story up a number of times. So with all these different things involved in the process, Roger Goodell and the NFL still said, we're going to suspend this guy 6 games. So that's my rant. I just feel that you're going down a dangerous road. Why not just do it like the criminal system and just guilty until proven innocent? Innocent until proven guilty. And then once he is found guilty, then throw the book at him or hammer him. But this whole punishing you to, appease the masses and the public opinion is I think is wrong. So With that, today's rant was brought to you by Beirut Palace. Hey sports fans, where can you find exotic and friendly surroundings, fine dining, and the taste of the Middle East and American cuisine? The Beirut Palace and its 4 locations serves food just like a homemade meal in your own home. Hummus, salads of your choice, kebabs, and their famous shawarma sandwiches that are great and fit into any budget. So when making your dining out plans, go to one of the 4 Beirut Palace locations. And when in Royal Oak, stop by the Beirut Palace at 205 South Main Street and ask for Mo. Tell them that you heard about the restaurant on the Rock and Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. For more information, call them at 248-399-4600 or go to their website at www.beirutpalace.com. Do it today. What's going on, fellas?
Not much.
Hola.
It is.
Love the rant.
Appreciate it, man. You know, it's just if guys do stuff, then get them. But this whole
He just got an extension too. I mean, what is he making? $21 million a year?
Oh,
I mean, it just depends. When he gets these bonuses, sometimes it's up to 30, 40.
A year. It's crazy when you make that type of money. You think you own something. He's an employee. That's getting paid. What else do you get paid?
But
Think you get paid? Is he like bi-weekly, weekly,
Yeah.
monthly,
But I
quarterly?
won't knock him in this fashion though,
How
because
do you get paid 21 days? You get paid.
but he has brought since
Dom, you know how much.
I know.
since Tagnibu left though, he has raised the NFL to a higher prominence.
Yeah,
of
I know
making
he's trying
money.
to go international. I don't like some of the places he's going, but I know I think the sport was going to get popular regardless of who was in charge. I don't know if Roger Goodell has done anything I can point my finger on to say that the sport is more popular.
It was behind the scenes business deals is what I'm talking about, things of that nature. Now, as far as of late, since the whole Michael Vick situation and all his punishment since then, yeah, he's got a negative, but he has done some things.
But the owners love him. They do love him. They keep
making
paying
him
him
bread.
Yeah,
Making him bread.
compared to the other commissioners, where do you think it ranks?
Oh man,
Third?
I mean, so you have Pete Rozelle, then you had Tag. I mean, there hasn't been a bad commissioner. Each one has done very
You're talking
good
about
for-
all 4 sports.
The 4 major team
sports.
sports in the U.S. right now.
I'd say second behind Adam Silver in the NBA.
I think Adam Silver has done a very good job of
Batman-
changing the image of the NBA.
Batman's last.
Yeah, I know because you're
Yeah,
a
Batman
hot guy,
is-
and I know that. And I don't know who's the guy who just is it Manford that just took over for baseball.
It
Manford?
was Bud
Selig,
It was
yeah.
Bud Selig, but
It's
the
Rob
new
Manfred
guy is
now.
Rob Manfred.
Well, I mean, NFL is by far the number 1 most watched sport.
Yeah.
It makes the most money. I mean, it's up there.
That's what I mean. To be third and you got the best thing. It's like that's like going around selling what's something that people gonna buy no matter who's selling it. You know?
Domino pizza, no matter who's selling
I don't know about
somebody
Domino's
go buy
pizza,
it.
man.
Domino's, Hungry Howie's, whatever. I'm just saying.
All right, let's
in
say
general.
McDonald's. That's like opening McDonald's and then like
Yeah.
patting yourself on the back because you made money this year.
Right.
McDonald's
Yeah.
not supposed to lose money. Goodell is not. I don't think he. That's all. I like what Silver's done to the NBA. Of all those guys, I think
I think
Silver
he's the most
changed the
progressive.
image because it was getting
City.
real. It was getting real urban, like not just urban on the court. Like, hey man, can we, And
What did
Silver.
he do? I don't know. When did he take over?
Ooh.
2 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. He is anti-screw up, yeah.
I mean, I think Stern had a good job, man. I know, so he had to clean the league up and got it where it's at. And I think
Yeah.
Silver was under him for a long time.
I think
so-
the biggest thing that Silver has done so far was the Donald Sterling deal.
Yeah.
Like the Donald Sterling deal where he was definitive in his decision. I think that he's one of the only guys I think of all of them that the players actually like.
Well, he deals with the players though. He says, "Hey, come in here. Let's talk." He's player friendly.
Yeah, he's player friendly.
He's
The
a-
rest of them guys, no man.
He said, "No, bro."
No. All right, what we got?
All right, Dom. Well, Dom, can you give out the phone number where everybody can reach us?
Yeah, call into the Rock and Turk Sports Show, 248.
Call me. I'm sorry. Wrong show.
248-721-8570.
That's J Turk R&B. That's for a later time.
Well, before we get started with today's show, just wanted to let you know that the show is brought to you and sponsored by Blaze Contracting.
Rock and Turk Sports Show is brought to you in part by Blaze Contracting Incorporated. Blaze is a heavy civil site contractor that self-performs mass and surgical excavation, aggregate installations, land balance and grading, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water main installations.
It's so loud.
Michigan,
It's on the
Ohio,
computer?
and Nevada.
Mhm.
Is it on your laptop
Blaze
too?
has successfully completed many high-profile projects.
Doesn't matter unless mutes.
Is a preferred
The
vendor
mutes
for
are
many
muted.
established major
The mics are
corporations,
muted.
developers doing business in Detroit and across America. Currently, Blaze has several major projects going on in Metro Detroit, including the new Little Caesars headquarters building, the Detroit Police Park development.
That's good. That's good for the report.
The Flexing Gate Auto Supply Plant, and the new Little Caesars Red Wings Arena. Hey, sports fans, if you're out there listening, you are involved in the development, construction process of upgrading or improving exterior products and infrastructure. You need to give Blaze a call. They can provide valuable assistance from the beginning stages all the way through the budgeting, design, and of course, the construction process of the project.
I think this is just really loud.
This is really loud. I feel like there's another speaker. Maybe it's just me.
Hey, just start the music when this is over.
What music?
You gotta be
NFL.
now for your week of sport.
NFL films.
It's just background.
I was not aware of this. Welcome. I think I jumped the gun right there. I was a little excited. I heard the NFL music. You know, if I was putting the pads on, get ready. All right. So we got This Week in Sports. And if you had a pulse this week, if you were alive for Saturday, you were aware of the McGregor Money Mayweather fight. And before we get into the analysis of the fight, before we break down, you know, what happened, who did what went where, let's talk about just the numbers and some of the interesting things that happened on Saturday. So number one, I don't know if you were like me, and this is an internet show, so I can say whatever I want, right? That's my disclaimer. All right, so I'm sure I was not the only one on my Fire Stick looking for the fight.
This is true.
This is true, right? Well, according to the internet, Google is my reference. There were 2.9 million pirated.
Awesome.
This is one. I didn't make it. I actually fell asleep. But 2.9 million people. So if you think about 2.9 million people, and at $100 per pay-per-view, they missed out on.
And they already had, I think,
$290 million. $29 million.
Yeah.
$29 million.
And there was already 6.5.
Did I do that right? No, that's $290 million. $290 million they missed out on from people who pirated the fight. But they should be calling Amazon.
But,
like, hey.
but let me tell you something. So I did that.
Yes.
But just along with everybody else, it was the same issue as people that paid for it. I guess were streaming it. It had issues, and I guess as they say that the fight broke the cable, broke the internet or whatever, because a lot of people struggled with their signal, a lot of buffering and things of that nature. So the fight was, I mean, I watched it, but it was some lag and it was some freezing up. So I mean, even though 2.9 million people did it.
You mean in the ring or the stream?
I'll just say the stream right now. So I agree with you on that.
All right. So that's a big deal because it seems like everybody you knew was watching that fight. But that's just the side part. The big money was the purse. So McGregor may have won. He might have lost the fight, but he did not lose the battle.
Not at all.
He did not lose the battle.
Not for a guy who pulled it out of thin air.
Out of nowhere. So they're saying that Mayweather, and this is still unfounded, but this is the estimate, that Mayweather is north of $250 million for this purse. Is it even higher? I read 250.
Today, right now,
what is that?
$373 million.
$373 million was his purse.
What's his?
Where did this come from? I read 250, above 250.
Because the numbers are still, because it's based off of what, so they don't necessarily give out the exact number, but what they're doing is they took what he made. He made $180 million from the Pacquiao fight, and Pacquiao made $78 million.
Yeah.
So they said that they broke, and remember the last fight was 4.9 million pay-per-view. This one was 6.5 million pay-per-view. And they're still, I think they.
Well, your number might be different than mine because of what I had on McGregor is I had 120 million. What did you have?
Right now they had 100. They said at least 100 might go up a little because I guess there's still stuff coming in from overseas.
So, how do they not know? Like, how does that work? Is boxing the only sport where we don't know how many millions a person makes?
Well, they don't.
I want that. So
they don't disclose.
No wonder he don't pay taxes.
They should know.
Well, it's
You
not,
should
it's
know.
not that they
The
don't.
people demand, hey, Floyd, I know you listen. You know what I'm saying? I saw you at McDonald's the other day. You got that Big Mac. I saw you celebrating. Can you call in and let us know how much money you made? Was it $373 or was it $372? The people deserve to know.
I tell you what, though, did you see that the IRS people were at the fight? Because, you know, he gets the check cut right before he leaves the building.
Cut the check.
It's over. And the IRS was there to get their $20 million.
That's all right, man. That's $20 million, man. Honestly, I know that sounds like a lot to us, but when you got $373, actually after you pay taxes, I don't know what the taxes is on a purse. Is it like winning the lottery? Are you paying like?
It's
are you paying
40% plus whatever. I mean, it's probably go Nevada, whatever their state tax.
Nevada's pretty minimal. So,
Okay, so
let's say
it's a 40%
is he paying 40? So he's gonna walk away about $200 million, and he pays 20. So he walks away.
So that was
180.
What I gave you was gross.
That was gross. So he walks away with 180, and and then he got to pay his guys and everything. So he walked away with 170 million.
And what he said is he's, other than Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, he's the next athlete that's crossed
the $1 billion
threshold of earnings.
And the thing is, his $1 billion just came in the last. He wasn't making.
Well, he had $700 million up until.
I'm saying his last couple fights where he made crazy money. He was making nice money early, but like his last 5 fights, I mean, he has been looking at some crazy numbers.
He's smart. He owns the pay-per-view. He owns the promotions.
People say he can't read. Give me that look. If that's what can't read look like, then I'm doing sign language the rest of my life. Give me that braille. If braille count as reading, because I'm taking that 370. You can read. I'll pay you to read for me. How about that?
How about that?
So McGregor, he made over $100 million, and we can both say one thing. I'll say because we got on this show and we kind of was like, man, he was gonna get knocked out. McGregor gonna get knocked out. One thing I can say, watching the fight, McGregor held his own to start that fight, and he had chances in there to do some damage to Floyd. He couldn't because Floyd is a very good boxer, but I think if you watch that fight, you gain respect for Conor McGregor as a boxer. A ton of punches, and I didn't
more
think
than Pacquiao did.
Yeah,
but here you go, because I was going to bring that up.
There's a but.
No, because I knew somebody was going to bring that up. So Mayweather landed McGregor 170 to 111. So and Mayweather landed about 58% of his punches. Now the last 5 rounds, 6 through 10, Mayweather landed McGregor 130 to 60. But when you remember, you're just counting what part, the scoring with glove makes contact. People are thinking those are power shots. There were some shots that he was kind of chicken wing and throwing stuff in there, just getting little rabbit punches and whatever. So when you look at those CompuBox numbers for like a Pacquiao or Marquez, some of those other guys that he's fought, those are jabs, power punches, other things of that nature. So yes, he did come out with and most of those came in the first 3 rounds, right? Because a lot of cards had McGregor winning the first 3 rounds, but what Floyd did was kind of, what he said he was doing, which I believe, he said, I've never fought this guy. We didn't really have film on him, so he kind of judged to see how he was going to fight, and then after he got set and saw the type of angles he was coming at, then he went to work.
If you can hit Mayweather, that counts.
Yeah, I mean, he gave
he's the hardest boxer to hit. He's the best defensive boxer ever. Yeah. He landed those punches; those count.
Now, when I got excited was when I said, okay, this may be a fight. Was I don't know if he caught or Mayweather was messing around, but he caught him with that uppercut that was pretty solid. Yeah, and I said, all right, this might be a fight. This dude might be coming out for real. So I'll say one thing I think everybody said is that it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to be. I didn't think he was going to knock him out. I thought he was going to toy with him, but it was entertaining. It made me want to.
So like I said, yes or no. We'll go real quick because we got to move on. Yes or no? Mayweather McGregor Part 2. You watching?
Yeah, I'll watch. I'm not.
How much time does he have to train?
Let's say they don't fight for 9 months.
I don't think it happens.
I think it does.
I think it doesn't happen because you got to remember he's 28 and Floyd would be 41, and he did not look like Floyd. Well, now, I don't know how serious he took it, but Father Time is undefeated, and if Floyd wants to stay undefeated, he probably should stay out the ring.
I think Floyd should fight until he loses.
Because here's the thing,
Part 2. I mean,
there's no way Floyd is getting into the octagon at 41 years old.
He did say he
would die. He would die.
I'll take it back. You know what I'll say? I'll say I'll watch it because I am impressed with Conor and what he did in a short amount of time. And once you fight, it's like a game. If you lose a game, you know you're going to play that team again. You're ready. You have something to go off of. And that was his first boxing.
Could you imagine Floyd in an octagon? No, 41 years old. I think McGregor would.
He get knocked out with a kick. He wouldn't even see it.
That would be so.
An elbow to the face.
Now you want to see pay-per-view? I think people will pay I would get that legally.
I'd get front row.
I would, because I remember, if you remember when James Toney at the time when he was still very good boxer.
Mayweather undefeated.
But I know, but James Toney had still got in there, and I put my money on the boxer, and he got his ass whooped.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'll say, speaking of the match though, so my boss, we'll call it, he went to Vegas for the fight, and we had a big discussion about this because the logic to him was that he said, I'm gonna drop $1,000 on McGregor. I said, why would you do that? He's like, it's $1,000 and it pays 15 to 1. I said, that's like, it's wasting your money though. Right. He's never gonna win. And even though, like, coming close, there was no chance that I ever thought that McGregor was gonna win. Even after looking at the fight, I still don't think there was a chance he could win. So it's just a waste of $1,000. But that's what. So $1,000 will get you $15,000 from McGregor. $1,000 will get you $27 for Mayweather.
But that's why they're saying a lot of the big money, like 93% of the betting that came in was for McGregor, but the 7% that went for Mayweather was all the big money. Everybody else was throwing in their checks or 100 here.
That's the thing. Vegas is very smart, man. They know where to set that line. Yeah. Think about it. The logic tells you to pay McGregor, like to pay to put money on McGregor. The logic. So if you got a couple $100, $1,000, you can put it there. It's a bunch of people who said logic, man. 15 to 1, logic bet. But the people who said, you know what, I want to win money on this fight. That means that if I want to win $10,000, I need to put up $50,000. I mean, you got to put up a lot of money to win. So, like, I bet if you look at the numbers, even though it was a big money on Mayweather's side, I guarantee Vegas still won out.
Well, they did, but they were panicked because the thing was, if just by some chance and a puncher's chance that he knocked Mayweather out, said Vegas was going to have to pay out. They said it'd probably take him 3 months to recover. It doesn't sound like a lot does, but Vegas don't take hits. And so they were
one of the interesting stats they said about the fight was that Mayweather made over $59,000 a second.
Yeah,
based on
I read that. I did read that.
$59,000 a second.
You know what though, you got to give
a second or a minute.
No, a second.
Hats off to McGregor.
Remember, it's 10 rounds is what? They're 3-minute rounds. So every round he's making. Let me do boop 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 boop. 3-minute rounds, right?
We got to get some more money here for better sound effect production.
No way.
Yeah, so he's making. So yeah, he's made 10.6. So that's even low. 10.6 a round. 10 rounds. That's only 160. That's 106 million. So that number is really. That number is like really crazy. Yeah. He made crazy of every boxing time. The man was making.
What I just
a lot of money.
I'm shocked he went 10 rounds with the best of all time. And I mean, you got hats off to his athleticism. Who else can do that?
The last thing I'll say.
McGregor.
Last thing I'll say about this though, MMA fighters cut weight differently than boxers. Mm-hmm. And so McGregor weighed in at 153. Mm-hmm. But these guys, I guarantee you at fight time, he weighed 170 to 175. Yeah. Now, Floyd walks around at 155. He weighed at 149. He may have only been 155. So you're talking about a 20-pound difference in the ring. You can take some punishment because now those because he said his shots didn't hurt me. He said they were just coming and he was moving around. He was hard to hit and he knew what he was doing. He was best in the world. So I think that 20 pounds, that 15 pounds made a difference. Maybe him versus a guy would have been the same weight.
All right. Well, we got to move on. So this week in sports, the other update here, we're going to the other end of this thing. So we got Mayweather and McGregor. Everybody's happy. And then we got Art Briles. Our buddy Art Briles, who left Baylor, you know what I'm saying, laid low, and he was in the weeds for a little while. He said, you know what? They got love for me in Canada. I'm going to go coach in the CFL. I'm going to go reclaim
what Baylor was doing.
So he thought he could go sneak his way up into the CFL. But it's this little thing called Google. And once people found out that he had a job, they stormed that place and said, no, thank you. Art Briles, he lost a job in 2 days. So, the question, is Art Briles worthy of a second chance? Is he really one of the most awful people in the world? I don't think you can like my answer, but
you heard my rant last week, and it was funny that this happened. That I said that he doesn't deserve to ever get a job again. And the only reason I said that is that before I was like, you know what?
Explain what he did.
So basically, what happened? Art Briles
248-721-8570. We're talking Art Briles.
Art Briles 2 years ago basically resurrected the Baylor program. Baylor was the worst program in the Power 5 conferences. Basically resurrected them. He was a legendary high school coach. Got in there, resurrected the program, got him to build $1 billion facility. Had a Heisman Trophy winner. Was a perennial playoff competitor. won some major bowl games, and a lot of guys in the NFL. Well, this past year, you had a player that got accused of a rape situation. Then, reporters start digging. Then they came down to find there was a rape culture and a violence against women at the university that was covered up. And then as they dove deeper into it, they started finding out that he was a person that may have been assisting in covering this up. So I'll give you just a few facts and I'll let Turk get back to it. So basically, this book that came out by two ESPN reporters called Violated came out basically under Art Briles' watch. He had 52 acts of rape committed by 31 different players between 2011 2014, including 5 gang rapes that happened on recruiting trips. It was kind of like, as they said, it was a rite of passage. Multiple instances, Briles and his staff had either ignored or covered up reports of the assault, or they interfered with police investigations. Players were not disciplined, while victims were encouraged to either keep quiet or leave the university. Basically, they turned a blind eye towards accepting players with a history of violence towards women. Groups were enticed with drugs and alcohol, and the coaching staff allegedly paid for prostitutes to have sex with them. And this whole thing, what makes it worse is Brian holds out that he knew nothing about this and says that he did nothing wrong and that he did everything he was supposed to do. And that's why I said in my rant last week, I say he should have coached again, because you know who you played for in college. Joe Tiller, there was one time I wasn't even involved. I was just out late at night, 3 in the morning. There was a fight that broke out in Taco Bell, and just somebody knew me as a football player was there. And he talked to me next day at 4 o'clock and said, "What are you doing Taco Bell 3 in the morning?" Coaches know what's going on. And then you're talking, okay, if one thing happens, that's fine. 52
Come on.
over a 4-year period, he knew what was going on.
This is what I'll say, though. It's not going to be popular. It's not going to be popular. I know it's not. He didn't rape nobody. All right? I think,
Joe Paterno.
Is he the worst? I mean, does Joe Paterno deserve,
But now, yes,
because
of what they just found out recently, that they found out he knew back in the 70s.
I think there's something to covering up. And I think sometimes it's hard to put ourselves in that position because of the emotional attachment. 52 is a lot. I actually understand Joey Paterno more than I do.
That's a year's worth.
Because it was one dude who had a problem. And I'm not saying I'm not condoning this, but there's one dude he known a long time who has a problem.
But he knew. But now the letter is saying he knew in 1975. He wrote a letter and basically was telling him don't do that shit around here.
This is what I'm saying though. There was one dude that he was emotionally attached to, that was like a brother to him, a younger brother, a son. But that's not it wasn't like it was 52 Jerry Sandusky's going around Penn State. It was one dude who had a severe problem, who he didn't want to turn in. Sometimes, it's easy to stop snitching. That's something that you say, in the streets, and that's kind of what Joe Paterno did.
Yeah, but we're talking about if that was hookers, maybe, or he had but then you're talking about children.
Look, man, I know it's the worst type of crime in the world. I'm not trying to condone what Paterno did. I'm just saying, it'd be like with him turning in. Jerry Sandusky was probably a mother having to turn in their kid, even though that's what I'm saying. That's why he did. I'm saying that's the only reason I can think he didn't do it.
But here's the thing: it'd be one thing if this had, like Tom said, if this happened over a course of a year where they just had a rape party every weekend, right? But this happened over a course of. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just saying. But this was a course of 4 years, and you're also talking about some of these. We just read some of these were some. If you get into the details of the book, these were brutal rapes. All rapes were brutal, but these were violent. This was bad stuff, and there's no way that the campus police, because the first thing the campus police do is especially when you're in a program like that, they may not go. Cops may not press charge. But they'll go to the coach.
This is what I'm saying, though. I understand Art Briles was in on this and everything, but there are players in Alabama that get gun charges that don't get swept under the rug. They go public. It couldn't have been just Art Briles sweeping all this under the rug.
No, it's not. No, what I'm saying
is,
they fired this one as high as the chancellor, AD. So there's a lot of people that got fired. But what I'm telling you is the first line defense.
That you didn't know.
Is that you didn't know.
That's terrible.
Because over a 4-5 year period, and then on top of that let's even get beyond that. What makes it worse about him not having the job is that some of these guys that committed these crimes had violent sexual crimes coming in, and they knew about that, and they turned a blind eye. At that point, you're just worried about winning and making this money.
If somebody, all right, if one incident, you're I didn't know, it's a little sketchy, but you got 52 in 4 years. It's a quarter of the time.
Art Briles is a horrible. I mean, I'm not saying
there's people getting raped a quarter of the time you're in office.
What I'm asking, this is what I'm asking though. Like when people say that he's the worst person in the world, because there are people who rape people who still have jobs, who still play professional sports. So is the person who condoned the rape worse than the person?
Compared to that,
you
shouldn't have a job.
Simple question. Let's clear it up. If you and your wife are sitting down and Lil Jay is getting recruited, he walks in the door and he's saying, "Hey, Lil Jay, you're one of the best receivers, corners I've ever seen. I want you to come to XYZ college." What are you thinking, and what's your wife going to think, knowing that this dude, his bag is just in the door?
Well, I'm saying that I would not let my son play for Art Briles.
Okay, so
there's a lot of people that would let my son play for.
But what is the reason why you wouldn't let him play for Art Briles? Because of his baggage?
Because I would entrust a coach to be a overseer, to be a second eyes on the parent over my kid.
Take your parent view. Why should he give a job anywhere? I wouldn't want him around high school kids. I know that.
I'm just saying that I don't think everybody thinks like I would in that situation. They like.
I know they would. I know.
I think there's a job out there for Art Briles.
There probably it's going to be the what?
Have you seen the numbers he put up?
Yeah,
that's all.
But in what?
End of the day,
in college or pros?
I think it's going to be in college.
You think so?
52. Is that the numbers?
I think eventually a guy like that ends up in the SEC.
Well, eventually, he ain't too spring
chicken.
Not,
but his offense. You know who? It's a lot of players. It's a lot of coaches who come from the Art Briles family tree. It's a lot of.
His son's down at FAU.
Dino Babers.
Yeah.
My guy at Bowling Green at Syracuse putting up numbers. That's the Art Briles tree. Like there's a scheme he has that is very dynamic.
Let me say this. Okay, so. If he did, what was his punishment for this? He
Nothing.
Was fired.
He got fired and they paid out his contract.
See, if he had some legal ramifications, something happened,
nothing.
Like Michael Vick, for example, he went to jail.
Yeah.
He did his time. Hopefully, learned his lesson. I'd give him
another
shot.
Go to jail for not snitching though.
Like, I mean, technically, he did not commit a crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a morally, come on, man.
Yeah.
And if you got a mom or a sister and that shit happened to them, stuff happened to them.
He gonna no. I'm not. That's the thing though. If it happened to him, I'm going after the dude that did it, not the coach that let it go.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about one. That's the thing. It's not the one time.
52.
It's the 52 because now if your daughter was number 25, this could have been stopped 24 people ago. But and the guys that you're bringing in that are doing this. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said he can't get it because what's going to change? You're gonna let's say he walks in. When he walks into Vanderbilt, I like my man down there, but Vanderbilt always struggles. You take what Baylor was. Vanderbilt's way ahead of where Baylor was when he took over. He'll turn them into.
Yeah, but that's like Vanderbilt's like the Harvard of the SEC.
Okay. Then who's struggling right now?
Ole Miss. You telling me Ole Miss?
They would do that. They would do that just because of the
situation. Okay.
Let's go to Texas Tech. Texas Tech.
Ooh, no, they okay though. Let's go to a program that's really like who really fell off. Who needs
Oregon State. Oregon State is a middle pack.
No, let's not even Oregon State. Let's go Oregon. Oregon used to be high flying. You don't think our Oregon would take a fly on Art Briles?
I don't know.
Out west?
I don't know.
Progressive area like Oregon? You don't think they would?
What, rate progressive? Like it's
rate
okay?
progressive. Like people get second chances. New word, rate progressive.
I say, I say.
I know what you're saying.
Utah State or Utah. I don't know. It's got to be somewhere. I mean, I can't.
Turk, I know what you're saying. That he's not the worst person in the world.
Okay, here question. Here, if Kevin Selman gets fired this year, you think Texas A&M take a flyer on him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
they want to win, dude.
He's not the worst ever, but I don't think he's competent enough.
All they do is they can hire a competency coach. So roll with him.
Yeah, he's not competent with all that's happening.
Put a compliance guy.
It's just like it'd be just like a drunk alcoholic who's really good. All you do is keep him sober.
Yeah, but look at Josh. Look at Josh Hamilton. As talented as he was, and as many handlers as he had, he still fell off the wagon every year.
He got a chance every year.
Yeah, he did.
Every year until he got hurt. It wasn't the drinking that got him out the league. It was the injury. So I mean, talent is talent. All right,
you buy a team and hire them.
It's in the works. It may be in the works.
Now, I know I talked a little bit last segment, but I guarantee it's going to be all Turk. Because I'm going to get through about two things, and then I'm going to let the Detroit fanboy take over.
As my man 97 wanted to take it would say, Stafford! Go ahead.
So, the big news this week, obviously, we got one more. We got, I think it's 8 or 9 days till NFL season kicks off.
Can't wait.
One week.
Can't wait.
The season kicks off.
Can't wait.
So, what Matthew Stafford did
Am I yelling in the mic?
Yeah.
No. Barely hear you.
He's excited for he's a Detroit
Turn my left ear up. Turn my left ear up.
So
I need more yelling. Go ahead.
Matthew Stafford was smart. He waited until after Derek Carr signed his contract, and once Derek Carr got his 5 years, $120 million. When we talked on the show, said Stafford was a smart guy. He's about to get paid, but we didn't know when he was going to do it. Well, this past week he signed the biggest contract in NFL history, 5 years, $135 million. And basically, I'm just going to run down what he's going to get, and then I'll let Turk take over.
Yes.
He got the overall, he's the first round pick 2009 draft. The full value of his contract is at about $151 million. He got a $50 million signing bonus. This year, his base salary for 2017, 22. Which is fully guaranteed, is $1 million. Now, he gets a $6.5 million roster bonus due on the 5th day of the 2008. Now he's still going to play out his contract. Well, I don't know what the full.
He got extension, so
it doesn't kick in until next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so next year on the 5th day of the 2018 league, which is I think after March, the 5th day of March, he gets $6.5 million roster bonus. His full salary for the 2008 base salary for the 2018 season is $9.5 million. Then he gets another $5.5 million roster bonus due on the 5th day of the 2019 season, which is guaranteed. Then his base salary in 2019 is $13.5 million, is guaranteed through any injury. $6 million roster due on the 5th day of the 2020 year, and then he gets in 2020 his base salary is $15 million. He gets a $10 million roster bonus due on the 5th day of the 2021 year. And then he gets a $9.5 million base salary for 2021. Then in 2022, he gets a $10 million roster bonus due on the 5th day, and his base salary for that year will be $2.5 million. And then he gets $500,000 in workout bonuses from 2018 to 2022. So a few highlights of the deal is one, his $50 million signing bonus is the most in league history, eclipsing Joe Flacco's $40 million. His $51 million to be paid in the first year surpasses Luck's $44 million of cash flow in the first year as a Colts quarterback, and his $60.5 million is fully guaranteed at signing. So
my thoughts?
No, here go one more thing. Given the structure, Stafford will have $86 million locked in as fully guaranteed as in March of 2018, and all guarantees have no offset language, which basically means if he's released, he'll be able to double dip. So this guy signed this
release, man. I think guys need to really take a step back. I know we're the Detroit Lions. Take a step back and appreciate that you have one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Listen.
Well, yeah, he's right here. Here's his last year's stats: 6th in passing yards, 4th in completion percentage, and 14th in touchdowns. With pretty terrible wide receivers. Well,
terrible. I mean, I don't understand how you dispute this guy. I understand that early in the career he was sporadic, but Stafford has come a long way the last couple of years. And then let me give you the biggest endorsement. Let me say this real quick, Rejo. Biggest endorsement. I know you don't like the deal. The biggest endorsement is that there's a man, and he admitted in the interview, the press conference, that I didn't know Stafford. I didn't know him that well. I needed to get a getting to know him process before I was comfortable making this decision. The man that decided to sign him to this long-term deal sat and watched the greatest quarterback of all time every day for the last 10 years.
Who's
Tom Brady. Bob Quinn was in New England. He saw the greatest quarterback of all time. So he knows what it takes to be a leading quarterback. What I think we need to take a step back and realize is that we have a real general manager.
Yes,
and I've said this, and I'm telling people who are listening. Look, Lions fans, it's the first. Rocco calls me a slappy. I'm not a slappy. First of all, I say how a team is. When I see the Lions roster, and I said this a couple weeks ago, when I see the Lions roster, for the first time in a long time, I see a plan and I see talent and depth at positions which we have never had. We've had top-end talent. We've had the Calvin Johnson and Ndamukong Suh. But when those guys are not on the field, the drop-off has been tremendous. Mm-hmm. And what Bob Quinn has started to do, if you look at the linebacker position, if you look at the secondary, the cornerback position, where there's 7 corners that can compete and play right now. You look at the wide receiver position, which Galladay is a 3rd rounder who is going to be a benefit. The tight end position, a guy like Michael Roberts, who's your 3rd, 4th tight end, who's eventually could be a starting tight end in this NFL. The offensive line, where he went on to sign. You start to see running back. Even though we still got, I think he sees that Zenner's gotten better. Dwayne Washington was a great pick last year. For a 7th round pick, that's a very good pick.
I won't hammer on that because I think that should be addressed in this year's draft. So but if he doesn't, then that might be.
I think 2 positions they need to address. Defensive line, pass rush is a huge need for them, especially we don't know what's going on.
They were okay until your boy got hurt to the.
How many wins the Lions going to get
this year?
The last time we talked about this, you said between 7 and 12.
Yeah, I
give them 9, but
I think
they won't make the playoffs. They won't make because this is going to be.
What do you say, Turk?
I think that they're right on that 9, that 9. I think this team is more talented than I thought. I think the defense is going to be better.
Yeah.
They're going to be very good against the run. The only problem, they're going to be very good on the outside against the pass. They can't get pressure on the quarterback, which will stop them from being an elite defense. If they have pass rushers, this group. I'm talking about athletic linebackers, good corners. 4 or 5 deep at cornerback, one of the better safeties in the league.
So they're better than last year, 9 wins.
Yeah,
and so
you can lose more games.
Does Stafford deserve this money?
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say
no-brainer.
Number 1 in the league.
I don't think anybody.
That's all relative to when you sign, though. It is because it's going to change.
I don't think anybody deserves that money, but the nature of the position of what we're doing and how football is going, and because. And like you said last week, and when you said that, I had to go look. So with the nature of the salary cap going up and raising up, it sounds like a lot, but it's not.
If you go back and look,
because I thought it was going to eat up more their.
2012, he was making $17 million. Salary cap was $120 million. So he counted for 14.5%, 15% of the salary. Right now, the salary cap is $163 or $167 million. His $27 million a year counts for about 16 to 17%. Okay. So the percentage that you allocate to your quarterback has not changed that much. The salary cap has gone up. Mm-hmm. And what everybody likes Stafford owing this. If you look at it, and they broke it down on CBS Sports about the rankings, the defensive rankings and the running attack rankings that Stafford plays with are worse in the league if you look at the top 15 quarterbacks. Yeah. He consistently has a bottom 20, a bottom 10 defense,
He's never had
and a bottom 5 running game. The Lions have not had a 100-yard rusher in 40-some-odd games. It is astronomical what Stafford is able to do to complete 65% of his passes. You give him a running game, the guy,
I tell you when I became, because last year was my year, and you can ask Turk, I said this last year, I said, I want to see what he does because he threw it up to Calvin a lot.
Yeah,
I want to see what he did, and he won games. They won games because so you can say he threw up to Calvin in triple coverage. That game was won because of Calvin. They won both Minnesota games. They won those games on Stafford's arm, and I said, I don't have a problem with this.
Thank you.
Because we haven't. I mean, think about it. Bob Galley, I don't know, Ronnie Pete, Andre Ware, Kramer.
This is what I don't understand. This is 248-721-8570. If you're listening, I know Stafford is a polarizing factor, and I think that we have such we are in Detroit, we are used to doom and gloom that we have taken the best quarterback in Lions history and somehow thrown him out with the Eric Kramers and the Rodney Peets of the world as if that's what he is.
It's almost it really isn't a compliment to being the best quarterback.
But if you look league-wide, it is for Stafford. I think that the league values Stafford more than the city of Detroit as a whole. There are people who really like Stafford. I agree with that. Yeah. But in general in the league, if you put Stafford in an open market, the contract would be crazy.
Here's the test. You put him on, and I'm not trying to make Lions fans mad. If you put him with the Texans, they're a Super Bowl contender. Absolutely. Okay, who else? You put them out. You put them out there, Arizona. Even though they got Carson Palmer, they're a competitor. You put them with any team that has. If you put him in, I guarantee you, with his arm, I think he's a better quarterback than Eli. You put him with his arm in the Meadowlands with those receivers, they're seriously competing. I think so. If you take him out of Detroit and you put him on teams, you don't have to be super teams. If you put him in Pittsburgh, I think he competes and gives the Patriots.
I think the Texans is probably the biggest example that if you put them in the open market, Texans would do everything in their power to get a team like.
Sure, because their window's closing on defense. They got a good 2 to 3 years left in their defense. I'm telling you right now, if he's on that team last year, they were better. Now, part of it, the coach, Bill O'Brien, they could have beat the Patriots. Were on their heels in the first half, and they just didn't. Brock Osweiler just couldn't get it done.
Right.
So
kudos to Stafford. I think it's a big deal, and that he's got a good contract, and I think it's friendly. Actually, I think it's friendly for the team because he could have got more money. If you look at where the numbers were going, he's north of 30 was not out of the question for that contract. And what Aaron Rodgers will sign for north of 30. How far north of 30, we'll see. But for Stafford to get the deal done before the season, he wanted to be here. 5 more years. You got him for 6 seasons. I think Quinn is building a team that is going to compete in the NFC and overall in the NFL the next couple of years. Mark my words. You finally got a guy that gets it from a building a team perspective. You see late draft picks actually contributing and looking like players. He gets it. He figured it out. Look out for the Lions the next couple of years.
I'm good with it.
Slappy out.
As long as you say, as long as they, now if they just sign him and they like when they sign Barry, okay, we're good. As long as they sign him and they keep moving in this pace in this direction to make I think they're, I don't want to say Super Bowl. I think they're maybe a couple free agents and maybe this draft or another draft from being a serious contender.
Let pipe block of the day. The Lions will win a playoff game in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I got you.
I'll take that.
Next 2 years. Will he be worth the contract if he win a playoff game next 2 years?
No.
If you take us to the NFC Championship,
you win one playoff game, you're worth a giant contract.
NFC Championship, I'll win or lose.
What does he
Win
need?
a championship.
Well, that's hard. I mean,
That's hard.
You know how hard that is?
No, but I'm just saying that's not just on him. But I'm saying,
Matt Ryan wasn't worth the contract then because he just won his first. He was
Winning
horrible.
one playoff game is not.
In Lions history, if he won a playoff game,
Yeah.
which would be number 2.
I don't care. It's not impressive to win a playoff
Okay, what if he
game.
won 2
If you won 2,
in one season?
yeah, it's one more impressive. It's a little more impressive.
So
but
he
it's
still
not-
wouldn't be. You still wouldn't be
No.
sold. So and what does Stafford have to do this year to tell you to get you to buy the jersey?
I don't know if Stafford could do much more. The team needs more around him. Now, if they put a team around him and he's winning, okay. Like you said,
Hey,
he would be a lot better on the
make
Texans.
a
I agree.
bet. Make a bet.
Yeah, I'll take
Give
that.
another addition onto your house from a Lions bet, and then you'll be a believer. That's how
That's
it
a
goes.
whole other story.
All right, real quick. Let's run through this one real quick, Turk. I'll just throw the question out there. Edelman, obviously, you got the other big story and it happened against the Lions at Ford Field. Edelman blew his knee out. He's out for the season. We know that Belichick's the wizard, and we got Tom Brady. Do you think does this derail their?
I think when it comes not in the regular season, but when it comes playoff time, I think it's going to matter because Amendola and Hogan, Brandon Cooks is not the type of guy that's going to play inside, make the tough catch, and you cannot count for Gronk for a whole season. If Gronk goes down, I think it changes what the Patriots can do schematically. So I definitely think it matters. Edelman is one of the better receivers from the slot that you've seen in the last couple of years. He's up there with Wes Welker in his prime. Edelman might be better, from a physicality standpoint. So I think playoff-wise, it's going to hurt.
I mean, with your coaching hat on, if we keep Cooks at number 1,
Yeah.
we got Hogan, we got Malcolm Mitchell. He can play both inside outside. You got Amendola if he stays healthy. Just in those 3 receiver sets, then they can go back to the old school. You can run Dwayne Allen and Gronk because Dwayne Allen's a decent receiver as well. So and then you don't forget you got somebody's going to get cut because they got 4 really good backs. But you got White and Lewis and even Burkhead now. We saw what he can do in the passing game.
I like all those dudes, but I think Edelman is. I think they're going to realize how good Edelman was. I mean, the guy. It wasn't just that he was fast. He was agile. He was very tough, and he was very smart. He created separation with his intelligence, and I think that is something that's lacking from the slot where he's not the
Well, he's a
fastest
former
guy.
quarterback, so I think that helps.
Yeah,
out.
he understands leverage. He understands windows for a quarterback. I think it's going to matter. Not in the regular season, in the playoffs. I think playoffs, when every down counts, those guys to get that 3rd and 6. Edelman's that 3rd and 6 guy. I mean, Amendola, he's going to drop the pass on 3rd and 6. I would guarantee it because that's the type of guy he is. And Dwayne Allen might not get open. Now, if Gronk's healthy, they're going to be okay. If Gronk somehow is not healthy, I think New England could have a problem in the playoffs.
All right, well, I'm going to skip one just to get to this next one. So here's a question for you. Joe Hayden was cut by Cleveland. He was signed yesterday by Pittsburgh for 3 years, $27 million with $7 million guaranteed the first year. They also traded away Cam Irving, who was their 2015 first-round pick to the Chiefs for a 5th rounder. They're looking to trade for Jermaine Kearse, and they named Kaiser the starting quarterback. Are the Browns, are they heading the right direction, or are they just same old Browns?
Same old Browns. I think, and I've had this debate with some of my Cleveland friends, I don't think Kaiser's ready to start. As bad as Osweiler is, I would not have ruined Kaiser at this
He's
point.
He's not even right now. They got Cody Kessler.
Yeah, I would have put Kessler. I think it's going. This could have long-term effects on Kaiser because I don't think he's ready for the speed of the game, understanding defense. I think he's got great arm talent. I think this may be trouble because the offense is not very good.
Their offensive line is okay.
Their offensive line is okay, but the receivers are not very
Running
good.
back is good.
The tight ends are not good because the first round pick they got has not.
And Njoku's been.
And
they got rid of my man from last year.
Yeah, they got rid of Garrett.
The guy who came on 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Barnbridge.
Yes.
Barnbridge.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to struggle early. He's athletic, so maybe he can scramble and create some plays. It's funny. I read the other day that the Browns have before 2017 draft, the last 8 draft picks are no longer on the team.
Yeah.
Other than 2017, the last. You think the
Four
Lions
of them aren't even in the league?
4 not in the league. The last 8 first round picks, not draft picks. The last 8 first rounders, and some of those years they got multiple, like the Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel year. I mean, they don't have. They're not on the. No, this is worse than Millen. Millen at least had. He would maybe go 1 out of 3 of the first round picks. The last 8 are not on the team. Millen's first round was not his problem. It was the second round, his third round. Those were his problem. Yeah. Because remember, Millen drafted. He drafted some pretty good players. I mean, out of his first round.
So I agree with you. I see what they're doing by dumping salary, and they're trying to get young. And they figure we'll take our lumps maybe for a year or 2 and get these guys seasoned. But like you said, I know Oxweiler, either you're going to cut them because you don't want to pay them money, or just let them play and let my man come in and blowouts. If they're getting stomped, then let them come in that way. But now
I think putting Kaiser in the fire early. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it's vanilla. We know we have scrimmages. He's seeing vanilla stuff, so he's killing this vanilla stuff. But when he starts getting coverage in the skies and rolling,
he's making good throws, but his reads are slow.
Yes, he's running. He's not getting down. He thinks this is college. Somebody's going to knock him out.
And he's a bigger guy than I thought. I think he's got arm talent.
Same old Browns
for me.
But that's good for you because you hate Cleveland.
So, I hate Cleveland. We play them this year.
Before we get out of this NFL stuff, so with what we see, basically the preseason's over, days and last night, nobody major's playing. Do you have? I'm changing up my some of my picks for the AFC and NFC champs. So what I have right now is I have Pittsburgh and New England playing for the AFC title. I got the Steelers beating them out. And I have Green Bay and Atlanta playing, basically a repeat last year. I have Green Bay and Atlanta playing. I have Green Bay beating them out. And I have Green Bay and Pittsburgh in the rematch of 2011, and I got the Steelers winning it all.
You have the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger rides off into the sunset.
I like this defense, and I like Joe Hayden with what they're doing because they're not asking to play a lot of man. That's where his problems were because of his injuries and that. A lot more zone. He's got a better coach around him, and he's got some good safeties. He's got some good underneath stuff. I like the offense. If everybody stays healthy, they got a lot of guys. They got a lot of talent, and I think besides maybe the Raiders, and if Texans if they get, and maybe Deshaun Watson plays, but I think the Raiders.
He's not starting.
He's not, but Savage can't stay healthy. But defensively, they can compete with New England. But right now, I think the Raiders and because the Raiders can run the ball and Pittsburgh can run the ball, and I think that's how you have to beat New England. So, and I just I like Green Bay, but Green Bay still comes down. They don't have a true running back for that type of game, and then. Their defense has always been but don't break, and I think that Steelers could break them. So that's my projection.
It's funny you mentioned the Raiders. I actually think that the Raiders and the Patriots are going to end up being the final 2 teams this year, and I actually got the Raiders winning that game. Part of the reason I think the Marshawn Lynch factor of the personality of a team is going to pay large dividends, and the Julian Edelman injury will show its ugly face in the playoffs in New England when it's cold. I think it's going to matter when you got a guy like Khalil Mack on the other side of the team, because that New England line is not that good. They're not the guys of old. So I like the Raiders to win, and I like to see. I'm going to see an old matchup from some of the old powers in the league. I like to see the Cowboys and Atlanta Falcons this year.
What was that, the '98 Super Bowl?
Yeah, and I think the Cowboys are going to be in the Super Bowl. I really like the Cowboys.
Even after 6 games?
I think Zeke coming back after 6 games, they'll be fine because of that offensive line. I think Zeke coming back is going to be fresh. He's going to be ready to roll. They're going to feed him a lot. I really like what they did in the draft. I really extremely like what they did on defensively. Taco Charlton is coming along very well. Jordan Lewis has, but I don't know about that. But I think, Jalen Smith is back. They lost. Losing under the inches is a huge deal because he was going to start.
If Smith is ready, that's absolutely an upgrade, actually.
It's an upgrade if he's ready. But that's still depth.
We'll see. Can't believe you didn't put the Lions right there.
So I like the Cowboys and the Raiders, and I actually like the Raiders and David Carr earning his money and winning the Super Bowl, taking it back to Oakland before they say, see ya!
So we've got our bet, right? For 2 years? 2 years. They're going to win one playoff game
next
this season or next season.
Yes.
I can't wait to get that money.
Rub hands together.
All right, I'm going to blaze through this because I want to get to the exciting college football stuff, and also our bum of the week because that's my favorite part of the week. That's my favorite part of the show. But right now we got top 5 tight ends. We're going to finish up the fantasy preview, and then next week we'll start giving you lineups for your DraftKings and your FanDuels. But tight end wise, I'm going to just run through it quick. It's the usual suspects. I'm looking at number 5, Jimmy Graham. I think they finally got it together. They're all on the same page. They figured out how to work him. I think that's why they're trying to get rid of Curse, because I think they're going to start splitting them out, using them more like the Saints did, and go that way. Greg Olsen with the rookie. Can't think of his name right now. The rookie out of Stanford. With him, we're coming out the backfield, and Curtis Samuels. I think that's going to open up Greg Olsen even more. Have another big year. So I got him as my number 4 tight end. Travis Kelce, that's either him or Tyreek Hill getting the ball pretty much because Alex Smith is Mr. Checkdown Man and he's too scared to throw it deep. Jordan Reed, I was kind of iffy on, but I watched him play the other night. Came back from his toe or ankle, whatever his foot injury was, and he looked pretty good. So we'll see. I've got him in a couple of my lineups already because he has a great chemistry, and I think he's going to get a lot of balls because right now with just Crowder, the only really receiver coming back, that he's going to have to develop a rapport with Pryor and some of the other guys. So I like that. And obviously, you got to take him just because Rob Gronkowski is an animal, but we'll see how these lower body injuries for an athlete, you keep taking a pounding and eventually you start losing some of your dynamic ability. So that's my top 5. What you got?
Top 5 tight ends. This year, I like number 1, I actually like Jimmy Graham. I think this is the year that he figures it out in Seattle, and I think they're going to key him a lot now with Curse going away. I think that he's going to be a big part of that. I'm going 1 through 5. Number 2, I still like Jordan Reed. I think Jordan Reed is going to be a huge focal point in offense, especially in PPR leagues. I think the guy's going to catch a ton of passes. Number 3, I still like Gronk. I think Rob Gronkowski, as long as he's healthy, is going to be a top 5 tight end. He may not get the big plays, but as far as touchdowns, as far as red zone opportunities, the guy is going to be phenomenal. Number 4, I think is a guy that's going to come in as a new name to the top 5. I really like Hunter Henry out in San Diego. I think he fits what Phillip Rivers wants to do. He's in the mold of Antonio Gates, a physical guy who can get vertical but catch the tough passes. He's getting tutelage from that guy. I think this is a year that he really takes off.
I think Gates needs 3 touchdowns to pass Gonzalez. And I think once he gets him, I think he's going to pass the baton.
Yeah, I agree. Number 5, I really like a guy that's a little older, but he doesn't seem to slow down, and he's a guy that everybody always forgets about, is Delaney Walker. I think Delaney Walker, because what the Tennessee Titans are going to do with that power run game, a tight end is a quarterback's best friend. And Mariota has gotten better and better. Delaney Walker is still a big threat, 6'2" tight end who can run faster than most of the guys in the league. I think he's going to be a speed demon up the middle of the field. I really like him this year as far as putting up a lot of touchdowns.
He's been averaging about 80, 90 catches.
Yeah.
And that receiving core is revamped with Decker.
I love what Tennessee is doing. I know we don't talk enough about.
That's my sleeper. That was my sleeper.
Well, you know what's fun? That's my Madden team.
Is it?
So I got Corey Davis out there. I traded Eric Decker. He was part of the Joey Bosa move. Had to get Joey Bosa, but Delaney Walker is my tight end, man. The guy's one of the better guys in the league. I mean, I know Regis with Dom's over there like, man, what is he talking about?
All right, we'll go real quick. We'll blast through the bottom 5 bums or bottom 5 tight ends. We got and these guys are I just went out the top 32 guys starting. So stay away from Eric Swope. He's with the Colts. They just have no chance, especially which looks like Luck's going to be out for about 2 weeks. Njoku, we just talked about earlier, he's been a non-factor disappear with his ability and his speed. Thought he was going to be a factor for him. Maybe it'll pop out in the regular season. You got Nick Boyle, just not a great addition and not a great athlete, just kind of a baseline blocker. Jermaine Gresham with Arizona, he could be okay, but they have so many weapons out there. Like he has played with Carson Palmer for a while. They have a good rapport. He's the emotional leader of that team, but I just don't know how many actual passes he's going to get. And then Zach Miller, I think that he had a great rapport with Cutler, but I don't. It looks like Glennon and Trubisky both like to go deep to the receivers and run deep around. So I think Zach Miller's going to get left out in the cold.
All right, so bottom 5.
Yep.
Number 1, a guy who I'm really disappointed in the preseason, and I don't want to put too much chalk in the preseason, but so far, I'm really not liking what I look is O.J. Howard. I don't know what O.J. Howard is doing. I thought O.J. Howard was going to terrorize the league from a size, end of the line, tight end, speed. I thought it was going to be a walk-in mismatch. He hasn't done much of anything in the preseason. I'm interested to see. I know people are going to draft him because of name. I would stay away from that guy. Number 4, Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron has remained an injury problem with the hamstrings the last couple of years. People think he has good yardage. Still drops too many passes on me, but I don't think that he's going to catch as many touchdowns as people think. In order for him to be for him to be a number 1 tight end, he needs to get out. He caught 1 touchdown last year, so unless he's getting to 6 or 7, he's a guy you want to stay away from. Number 3 for me is a guy that was used to be in Cincinnati, but he's out in Arizona. Jermaine Gresham. Now, people are like, why the heck would you even draft Jermaine Gresham? Well, last year Jermaine Gresham had a pretty good year on a struggling offense. Jermaine Gresham was a bright spot in the pass game. This year, their receivers have not been very good, and Bruce Arians is going on record saying the receivers suck. So you would think David Johnson and Jermaine Gresham are going to be the top targets. I think Jermaine Gresham is going to lose a step. Watch out for him declining and soon being out of the league. I think this is near the end. Other guy, Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert, a couple years ago before the injury, was tearing up the league. You thought he was one of the better tight ends in the league. The last couple years, he has gotten slower and slower. I think that injury he never recovered from.
For the Pro Bowl injury?
Yeah, from the Pro Bowl injury. I think that Tyler Eifert is 1 step away from not even being a starter in the league.
I don't care. He's a Notre Dame guy.
Last guy I say, and you probably should always stay away from this guy. 2 reasons, though. Jason Witten. Do not touch Jason Witten. Number 1, the guy is older than us. He's older than us, and he's playing tight end. Number 2, his backup is a stud. Rico Gathers, the former basketball player out of Baylor, who was a 300-pound tight end when he got there, was on the practice squad. He slimmed down. The guy looks phenomenal in the preseason. He looks like a red zone nightmare. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be the focal point from the inside receiver point at tight end. He's going to be the guy to catch all those touchdown passes. Jason Witten's going to be a guy between the 20s, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of yards, so he has no purpose in the fantasy league. Those are my 5.
All right. Well, though, like you said, you got our top 5 keepers and you got our bottom 5 bums.
And we're back. Week 6 of the Bum of the Week. Last week we talked to you about our man John Jones and his steroid violation. That was a no-brainer Bum of the Week. And you know what? Just like the postman, some of the proponents of Colin Kaepernick, they always deliver. This week, a guy who we've always held in high esteem, a guy who's a living legend in the NFL, came out and decided that it was time for him to say something about Colin Kaepernick. It's unfortunate because I really had a lot of respect for the guy, which I still do, but I got to call you out. You may have known him as the Cleveland Browns all-time Hall of Fame greatest running back. Some of you may know him as one of the co-stars I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. The rest of us is going to know him as this week's Bum of the Week, Mr. Jim Brown. What did Jim Brown come out and do? Well, somebody asked him about Colin Kaepernick. And there's only one thing, and this thing really pissed me off when I read it. Jim Brown's response was that Colin Kaepernick needs to decide if he's going to be an activist or a football player. He's got to pick one. Really? Jim Brown, that stood next to Muhammad Ali when he was a proponent of going into Vietnam. The same Jim Brown that walked away from the NFL so he could pursue an acting career. Jim Brown comes out and says Colin Kaepernick needs to decide if he's going to be an activist or a football player. So let me get this straight, Jim. These football players that we see on TV every day, scoring touchdowns, catching passes, making tackles, getting sacks, they should stick to football. Because if they're going to be football players, they need to be football. But if they've got something they're passionate about, they got something they care about that's a real issue for them, they got to decide whether they're going to play football or they're going to be an activist. You, Jim, you told Colin, hey, it's up to you, man. You can't do both. So that means that these guys in the NFL can't have an opinion. They can't say what's right, what's wrong. They need to stick to the sport. You're no different than the man on the internet that when LeBron James comes out and says something, they tell him to stick to basketball. That's you this week, Jim, unfortunately. I know you're a little older. I know you went to go see Donald Trump in his hotel and everybody gave you flack about it. I know you and Ray had a private meeting. I'm sure it went very well. I'm sure. But I got to call you on the carpet, man. For a guy that I looked up to that's been an activist in these communities for many years, for you to tell a entertainer, a famous person, that they got to decide between their livelihood and their morality, shame on you. Because that's what's wrong with the NFL right now. Aaron Rodgers came out the other day and said, hey, Colin Kaepernick's not on a team because he took a stand for something he believes in. And if you don't see a problem with that, Jim, then I got a problem with you. So, hey, I know Jim's a little older. He's a little gray. But if you're in Chicago and you see Jim stumbling out of Trump Tower because he's had meeting number 2, and he walks up, he's calling a cab, and nobody's stopping to get him. Hey, you wave that cab down. You grab Jim by the collar. You put $1 in his front pocket. You say, hey, Jim Brown, here's $1 because you're a bum.
You know what? I'll agree with most of that. I also, for historians who don't know, and I just, my family's from Ohio, and, you know, my dad's told me stories, and, you know, whenever Jim Brown comes, he's done a lot of great things, but, you know, my dad told me a story back in the day when Jim Brown was a player. I think he was dating some high school girl.
Yeah.
He threw her over a balcony.
Yeah, and people don't know about this. Yeah, a high school girl. He was in the NFL.
He threw over a balcony?
Two-story threw over a balcony. And he's had a couple violence against women in his playing career. He had a lot of stuff that was... So when he plays this, sometimes when he comes out and plays, no, everyone makes mistakes. And I don't know. Certain things that you throw a woman, child, person over a balcony, or you, especially if you're beating up on girls. So, you know,
some stuff you can never recover from.
Yeah.
A couple things like domestic violence, child abuse. No, let's not even say child abuse, because some people will beat their kids and end up getting a child abuse card. So I'm not even going to put child molestation, domestic violence, murder. I want to say child abuse when it is not like corporal punishment. Not corporal punishment.
Peterson, I got spanked like
that's what I mean. That's corporal punishment. But like I'm talking about like abuse, like
get
being
thrown into a wall.
Yeah, that type of stuff. There's some stuff that you just can't recover from. I don't. You know, the guy that says that I beat the crap out of a woman, but I'm a changed person. I'm always looking at it as, you ain't never dated my daughter. I don't care if you change or not. So Jim Brown, you know, he's done some things that no matter what he does in life, you always look at him like, bro, you actually did that one day? Like, really? You?
You trying to tell me something?
Yeah, you trying to tell me something? Okay.
Get out of here.
Stick to activists. Okay. Welcome. The time is finally here. It is the first full weekend of college football. Rocco got his. If you looking at the video on Facebook Live, Rocco actually has a helmet on right now. It's a Purdue Boilermaker helmet on, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know where it came from, but he has it on right now. He is stoked for this weekend. We've got some huge matchups this weekend. Right?
By the way, do you know whose song that was?
That was Alabama.
I had to give homage to the number one team in the nation for this one.
Whatever. So, let's start locally because we got some big games. Number 1, Bowling Green travels to Michigan State for the.
I had that on the side because I knew he was going to say it.
Bowling Green travels to Michigan State for a showdown of epic proportions for both programs. Now, this is going to be Mark D'Antonio's first chance to right a wrong from last year. He's got a lot of new starters. Bowling Green is coming off a terrible year last year with a new staff. Can they keep it close under 28 points? I say no. I think Michigan State comes out and they dominate. But that's just local. The big game that's in the state right now that everybody's clamoring about, which we built up. I mean, I think that people will watch Jim Harbaugh and Jim McElwain just go at it at the 50-yard line because the stuff that these guys, like, they don't like each other. right? So Michigan travels to Dallas to play half of the Florida Gators team.
Yeah, man.
Because every day we're learning that a new player is getting suspended. It's almost like oh, by the way, yeah, he ain't playing either.
Well, I changed my pick because I was strong with Florida in the beginning, and now they lost their star running back. I got to go now.
How could you wait till? I don't understand how you was picking against Michigan in this game.
Because Florida has too much speed, too much talent.
I think Michigan has just as much speed.
Nah,
and just as much talent.
Last year, yeah, this year, and I think
they're faster this year.
But they're young.
They're young.
You're gonna play slow.
Florida's young too.
Yeah, but not in the place that. Well, now that's what I'm saying.
Once their number one receiver was gone, I thought it was absolutely no way Florida.
And now they're back.
Because that was the guy. I don't think the run is going to get it. I think the pass, that guy, because Michigan got a lot of unseasoned corners. You can't be unseasoned in secondary. And
I thought Zaire was going to beat out Felipe.
Yeah,
got
Zaire.
So now, because I was worried about the running aspect, Michigan didn't do
Felipe!
So
true freshman's first start in Dallas.
So I do have, even though I hate to say it, I have Michigan winning the first game.
All right. So Michigan beats Florida. I think Michigan goes down there and take care of business. Will Spade is going to be the starting quarterback. I'm interested to see Tariq Black and Donovan Peoples-Jones as the two outside receivers. I think this offense has a chance to be very good. They're young, but they're extremely fast.
Don't forget the brother Rice along, Grant Perry.
Grant Perry is they took his number, man. He's number 88 right now.
He changed it.
No, they snatched it off his back.
Did that?
Yeah, he said, "Hey, by the
same
way,
like
come here." Yeah, who changed their number to 9 from 88? Who does that from 9 to 88?
He's starting for Michigan?
No, he's not. He's like 5th on the depth chart now, man. I don't know. He might play I hope he plays a lot, but he fell out of that depth chart. Michigan has, Tariq Black, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Yeah. You got McDougal coming back from last year. You got the other high 4-star recruit from last year, number 1.
I know you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you got Oliver Martin, which I love Oliver Martin. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to play. And then you get the Grant Perry, right? So there's a good amount of guys there. Chris Evans in the backfield. I really like this. David Reese gets to play against his hometown team. That's the story.
And that's what he committed to.
Yeah, I know. And they want to play fullback. I read the article again this week to get recommitted. If everybody doesn't know, Florida's middle linebacker, ironically, the guy that it was under the tutelage of the Lions middle linebacker, Jared Davis, he's the starting middle linebacker for the Florida Gators. He was a Farmington High School football player who was committed to Michigan, who was going there to play linebacker.
Shout out to his uncle, Big Courtney
Biscuit Reese. We went to Brother Rice with him.
Right.
So he was committed to Michigan, and Harbaugh wanted him to play fullback. So he wanted to play fullback, and the way the story goes, now I've heard different, the way the story went recently, they wanted him to play fullback, and he got to a camp, and they saw him at linebacker, and Harbaugh got reconvinced that he was a linebacker. But by the time they did that, they had already told him they weren't going to let him commit. They weren't going to let him come in early, and that they wanted to play fullback. So they rubbed him the wrong way. He ended up decommitting and going to Florida. That's the story that I read recently. That's not the story I heard back then. But whatever the story is, it worked out better for him. He gets to play against his hometown team. It's a big game, Michigan versus Florida.
He grew up watching Biscuit play.
Yeah.
That's how he got there.
Yeah, that's how he got there.
And his dad played at Michigan State. So he's come from
He's
some pedigree.
good pedigree.
What happened to the Rice quarterback at U of M?
He's still there?
He's still there.
Chilling.
It's a lot of quarterbacks in there competing.
Yeah.
Did you know Dunaway walked on?
Well, that's what I heard. We'll see what happens because they just announced their official roster.
Is he on there?
I don't know. They got.
So does the roster have 2 Dunaways
So
on it?
let me tell you what they did, which is the dumbest thing ever. Harbaugh's so they brought in 25 scholarship guys, and then they brought in 25 preferred walk-ons. So they had 50 people in the freshman class. And so now some of these guys were able-bodied. They had offers from other places, maybe not high up, but maybe D1AA or Ivy League or some lower tier, MAC. But he says, "Hey, come here, brother." He cut a bunch of them. Like they're on team. Like they're only carrying, I think, 130 into the season. There was like 150, 60 dudes on the team. So he cut a bunch. Like he did some foul stuff, in my opinion. But
you gotta cut them. You gotta get.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have never brought that many people on board.
They should have never committed.
Yeah, but the adult. I'm holding the adult responsible. Because if you're telling the kid something that, hey, and you know that you can play a ball and you want to come, that he's using I'd rather play at Michigan than go to Ball State or something like that, and then, you get in there, you compete, and he cuts you, and you go try out in the spring or something like that, that rubs me the wrong way. But, like I said...
Hey, man, it's a meritocracy, bro.
Yeah, it is.
It's a meritocracy.
Karma's a punk. And
I don't know what karma is. It's a meritocracy. The best players play.
That's fine, but we're talking about when you get in the door, though, you don't... No one, because he knew what he was going to do. He knew what he was doing when he told
he knew what... That's nothing, but that's not even as bad as what the SEC does. They gray shirt. They cut scholarship
All the
players.
way. Your boy PJ Fleck did that up at Western Michigan.
I'm saying that's way worse than what Harbaugh
Your
did.
Broncos.
I'm saying that's way worse than what Harbaugh does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different.
He just don't like. Look,
I don't like.
He
Michigan.
does not like Michigan. He does not like Harbaugh.
Two reasons why. One, I grew up in a Buckeye household,
Me
and
neither.
second of all, I didn't like the way they recruited me.
All right, look, over under on Rashawn Gary sacks this week. I'm gonna set the bar at 9.
9 in a game.
9 in a game.
I'm
I'm
gonna
joking,
say.
man.
I'm gonna
I'm
say
set it at
maybe
2.
half.
0.5.
Half a sack.
Okay, I'm gonna set the mark at 1.5. I'm gonna be realistic.
Florida's line's not bad.
They're
Their
actually
tackles are
awful.
decent.
They're actually awful.
Their tackle that he's going to get, their left tackle is actually pretty good. Now, if they swing him to the right side, maybe different story.
I'm gonna set the over under at 1.5. I'm taking the over.
Next.
I am too. Yeah.
Next. Here, oh, you forgot the other big game.
Alabama.
No.
Who?
Western Michigan Broncos versus the USC Trojans.
Ooh, Sam Darnold. Ooh, that's tomorrow night.
That's
Friday
why.
night.
That's the real reason PJ got us out. They wasn't gonna roll the ball down.
PJ was in his office. He was like, "Let me see what we got on the." Hello, Minnesota. Y'all still hiring?
But
all right.
But here's what I do. I can make jokes as well because it's not no better for my boys.
We don't play.
We're playing in Lucas Oil Field, which we've done okay there. I just found
Play
this out.
Texas?
No.
Indianapolis.
No, we're playing Indianapolis.
What am I talking about?
We are playing Louisville. So I don't.
They might
care.
put up 60.
They might put up, and you know what? It's a
They
better.
might put up 60
it's
on a
better,
turf.
But you got your man on
Basketball?
turf. No,
Yeah.
you're looking at
60.
They're putting up maybe. I feel. I got hope that Brown can turn around, but this is not
Lamar
the game.
Jackson is Lamar
this
Jackson.
is not the game you want. And they
Think we
say he's
forget.
bigger. They say about 10 pounds heavier, and he's actually gotten better throwing the ball. So now I'm like, really? And I called one of my boys and said, "Hey, how's it looking up there?" He's like, "It's promising, but open
After
up
week
with
1.
Louisville."
It's promising after week 1.
He said with Louisville, he said we just hope we can keep it respectable.
What's respectable? What define respectable? 17?
17 what? Us putting up 17 points?
17
We're going to put up points, but I think it could be like a 60-40 game because their defense is terrible. Because we actually, David Blau is actually the top returning quarterback in the Big Ten statistic-wise. Numbers and completions, all that stuff, touchdowns. But what you're looking at is a very, very good player. He is a joystick video game player. I'm giving him 3 or 4 touchdowns on his own.
In a
maybe
dome,
around-
in a dome turf. Ooh, boy.
So, like I said, I think Bowling Green probably has the best chance of keeping it close out of us, our 3 alma mater.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go
Yeah,
with
you're
that.
probably right, and I don't feel very good about them keeping it close either. I do not like this coaching staff. I'm on record as saying
We met them down there.
first off, the offensive coordinator is a punk.
I remember, and yeah.
No, the recruit coordinator
He
came
was
up
cool.
to
Seth
Brother
Dodge,
Rice.
he was cool.
He's cool. So I don't want to talk about all of them. But the guy that wanted to fight on the sideline because I said that guy, no.
And you had the right to say that because that's your alma mater. So
Exactly.
go ahead and give them that business.
It's my team, coach.
All right, here we go. So let's just talk about real quick tonight. We got OSU, Indiana. Who you got? 8 o'clock.
Listen.
In about half an hour.
Listen, I think OSU wins this game, but this is what I'm going to say, though. Indiana will keep it closer than the experts think. Closer than the
What the experts say.
The experts, I think they got it at like 24.
24. Man, I think it's a hit or miss.
You're right about it. They'll keep it closer than that, I think. Closer to 24.
Well, the problem is Kevin Wilson. I think Kevin Wilson coming back. He's at IU. I mean, he's at Ohio State now. He's a former coach that got released. They're going to push the ball vertical down the field more than they did last year. I think once the emotion up gets, I think it's going to be a blowout. And also, your first game is always the toughest game because you don't know really what you're going to be seeing. But Indiana may have the upper hand because they know.
Well, I think Ohio State is one of the better teams in the country. Just they're very good at every position. I hope JT Baird is not started because I think, like I
He's
said,
starting, man.
I hope he doesn't start most of the season.
I know you got your boy. The backup is your man.
Backup is a stud, dude. He needs to play. JT Baird been in school for 19 years, man.
He look like he got that Odin thing going on. You get them
JT
40-year-olds.
Baird.
Joe
JT
Lewis
Baird.
was 142 years old.
All right.
JT
Enough
Baird.
said. We already know.
JT Baird opened up a bank account when he first got to Ohio State, and they already gave him the freaking silver reward for 10 years of service. Man, that dude been there forever.
Next. Here we go. Let's a couple. I picked up 2 of these because I just tried to pick some of the top games. We got just the other two major ranked teams.
JT Baird is the only player in college football history to see 2 groups of classes actually graduate.
Quite possible.
Quite possible. Like he got like team 133 through 141 on his chest. That's what he got. Team 133 through 141.
Come on, let's get to this. We got number 22 West Virginia versus number 21 Virginia Tech. What you got?
You know what? West Virginia, ever since they got rid of Rodriguez, have declined as far as explosive. Yeah.
Good offense, defense has just been gross.
I don't think they are as good. I think Virginia Tech finally has figured out what they're doing. I like Virginia Tech in this game because they got my man Jackson's son over there playing quarterback, and he's supposed to be one of the better players in the league, which is crazy. Fred Jackson's son, who's a local Ann Arbor, he went to Saline. He's the starting quarterback, and he's a Heisman candidate.
Really?
Yes, I read it the other day.
Really?
His name's Jeff Jackson. He's a Heisman candidate. Dude,
I didn't know. I know he's been
quarterback.
balling, but I didn't know he was
He's a Heisman candidate. He's supposed to be one of the most exciting players in college football. I always give the upper hand to the great quarterback early.
Welcome to the Rock and Turk Show. Who's this?
Man, look, man.
Who is this? Jamal Norman, Ohio to Michigan.
Jamal, man. Look, the only difference between you and JT Baird is about 8 months.
Hey, look, man, listen. You know your boys are going to pull it out tonight. They're probably going to put up some numbers, but the real test is coming in that couple weeks. We're going to see what they do. But, you know, what I didn't even think about. I figured we were safe. We weren't get no calls. Now we both picked Ohio State to win. What you complaining about now, man? We didn't pick them to win by 45?
No, you know what? The difference
When have you ever known me to respect Ohio, though? Like, why are you surprised?
no, actually, I was going to say, so I just saw, I don't know if you guys know but if you're a Badger fan, they got the over-under on the Alabama game at 49.5. Don't you got to take the over on that?
No, I'm taking the under, bro.
I think this first game of the season, first game, and listen,
Taking under.
IU's not old IU. They got some players.
No,
they
he
got
said
some,
Florida State, Alabama.
Oh, you said that.
49. I'm taking the under. I think Florida State's defense is going to be very good. And
Yeah.
they'll be able to and I
I
think
think it's going to be a 24-20.
yeah, I think that game is going to be in the 20s, man. I wouldn't be upset about taking the under on that.
Here.
No, dude.
Here-
There ain't
there-
64.
no,
There are
no.
too many athletes
Yeah,
on
it's-
the defense
yeah.
to put up 64.
Even that Michigan Florida State game was. Michigan Florida State in the bowl game was a tight game. They didn't put up. They had a lot of yardage and stuff. There wasn't a lot of points scored. Alabama is going to a pro style, back to running the ball, win. That's what Saban wants to do. Lane Kiffin, that was great. They won a title, but he wants to control the rock and use the strengths of what he has. I don't think it's going to get out of hand. I think Florida State is in the same way. They ran the ball a lot more than they throw it, and I think it's like Turk said, it's a 2017, 24-21 type game.
I think the game's end up in the 20s. I like.
Why are you worried about that game? What about your Buckeyes? Worry about your Buckeyes. Worry about the Buckeyes. Why are you worried about?
What's the point spread tonight? How many points? They got everything they need to be Alabama. So how many points Ohio State winning by tonight? Don't say nothing crazy.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. I can live with that score. I think for a half, I think it may stay close. Actually, I think Indiana is a team that can play with you for a half. You got to watch out because they do have some. They got a very good offensive coordinator, and their quarterback is back. So I think they're a team that can compete for a half.
All right, Jamal. Thanks for the call. Keep listening.
You
Thank
bum.
All right. Last two. We got Texas. These actually teams are unranked. We got Texas A&M and UCLA. What you got?
I got UCLA. I always side with the quarterback, Josh Rosen. This is the last chance to prove that he's the number one pick in the draft. He's got a good supporting cast offensively over there. I like them to beat Texas Tech in a shootout.
I'm gonna let my heart take over my head. Coach Sumlin was one of my favorite coaches when he was at Purdue when I was there. He was a wide receiver coach. He was one of my favorite coaches. He was a player at Purdue. He was a tough guy. He was a linebacker. I like him a lot. I've always wished him success everywhere he's went. He's on the hot seat this year. So they have a decent team. They are young, but I think that with them and the players really like him, so I think they're going to play for him. So
how's he on a hot seat?
because
Mahomes?
they
like what
no,
Mahomes did?
this Texas A&M. Texas A&M.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you think about Texas Tech.
Yeah, he is on a hot
He's
seat.
on a hot seat, so I think the
That's
boys are
his
going to
side.
play for him. And I think
Our browse is waiting for him to slip up.
he's a wait.
He's
All
coming
right.
right in the back door.
Now, Mr. Jamal.
Bad play on words. And I mean,
So Mr. Jamal started off, but the grand finale, the McGregor versus Mayweather. Who you got? It's Alabama versus FSU Saturday night.
I'm going to pick Alabama, but the game will be closer than the experts think.
I'm with you. I pick Alabama, and the only reason I picked him is Jalen Hurts is still a weapon as far as a runner. We'll see how he's developed as a passer. But you got Bo Scarborough, who's back, who's healthy.
He's
Now,
healthy.
finally, he had a broken leg. He's healthy. You have a whole plethora of backs. You got another young back that they're talking about him more than they're talking about Scarborough.
Every time, man. It's always the backup.
So it's always, a talent of riches that they have, so a certain amount of riches. So I got Alabama, but I think, like you said, it's going to be an exciting game. This will come down to a field goal. Maybe a last
I
second
was just
drive.
say I think the game is going to be by less than a score. I think it's going to be a very good game early in the season. A team with athletes on both sides of the ball on the field. Florida State can match up physically against Alabama from the interior, so that won't be a problem. So we'll see what happens, but I really like them to keep it close. I think 6 points is what I'm thinking.
All right, here we go. College football playoff predictions. Now that everything's rolling, here's what I got I did some tweaking. Here's my final four. I got the number 1 seed Alabama, the number 4 seed USC, and I got the number 2 seed Ohio State playing the number 3 seed FSU. I have Bama beating USC. I have Ohio State beating Florida State. I have Bama and OSU playing the national championship. I have Bama in a tight game winning by 2 points, last second field goal over Ohio State. That's my predictions. Lock it in. Come holler at me in January.
Number 1, I like Alabama just like you do. Number 2, I actually like Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma has a very favorable schedule to get into that top 4. And number 3, I like a team out of the Pac-12. I really think Washington is going to run the table this year. And number 4, I actually think, I hate to say it, but I think Ohio State is going to be that 4th team. In the opening game, I think Alabama against Ohio State. I think Alabama wins that game. And in the other one, I think Oklahoma wins that second game. And I think I like to see Alabama, Oklahoma. And I think Baker Mayfield, with the crafty veteran, I think he gets it done this year. Oklahoma wins the championship for Bob Stoops as the guy who left before he could get his last ring.
You know what? I toyed all with Oklahoma. It's just there's so many weapons that they lost so much.
But they were so stocked, though.
I know they were stopped, but Samaje and Mixon and Dede, those are guys that are not. There's not a guy like that yet. He may be a young cat and he's got some ability. Those are some numbers.
Listen, this is what I'll say though, and I even say this over Lamar Jackson. If I need one touchdown in the game, and I give a guy the ball, and he got to get down the field. It ain't got to be pretty. It ain't got to be flashy, but he got to get a touchdown. Give me Mayfield. That's the guy we'll take out of everybody. He's not the best passer. He's not the best runner, but he's good at both. He's going to get it done. That's why I like the guy. So I think that they got a chance whenever he's on the field and he's got the ball.
I got you. We'll see what it is. Lock it in, and then we'll see what it is. We'll come back to it in January. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are to our favorite thing that we like to talk about, not only football but high school football. And we had some picks last week. We had our top 5 games, and then we got our top 5 games. Some games I picked this week. And we do have a correction to make, Mr. Turk. I'll make sure he takes it. He didn't get when he got the information from the West Bloomfield-Wall Lake Western game, it was literally almost over. It was 14-13, and after he gave the score, they punched it in. Wall Lake Western punched a 2-yard run in with the quarterback.
19-14.
They ended up losing 19-14, so we wanted to make that correction. I had a horrible week last week, Mr. Turk.
Horrible.
I was 1-4.
1-4.
So I lost now the one thing is all the games that I picked were actually right, but all the guys that lost on the last play of the possession of the game. So Close only counts in horseshoe hand grenades, but I had West Bloomfield winning. They lost at the last second. I had Cass Tech winning. They were beating Pickerington 21-17, and with 10 seconds left, Pickerington quarterback sneak, plunged it in. So Cass Tech lost 24-21. So those I'm 0-2. Detroit King and Indianapolis Cathedral. King won 38-35. Once again, went on their last drive. So I got that. I'm 0-3. I did get the Oak Park versus Utica Eisenhower right. I was correct on what I thought. Eisenhower blew them out 24-7. That was my only correct one. And then Detroit UAD versus Birmingham Brother Rice. I picked UAD and
Say what?
And Rice won 26-7.
All right, so
I had a bad week at 1-4.
yeah.
Was Cass number 1?
Cass was number 1.
They lost to a very good Pickerington North. I actually watched that game on Periscope. Turnovers, man. No matter what level it is, can't turn the ball over. Pickerington to North capitalized. I had Cass winning that game as well. West Bloomfield. I picked West Bloomfield because I thought all the weapons, Wale Western wouldn't be able to keep them in the box, and obviously they freaking snuck that game away. I had King winning that game, so I did beat you there. And the UAD Brother Rice game, I didn't pick because Brother Rice coach.
We had the coaches in here.
So we had the coach in here last week, and he gave us the thing about the program. And UAD went out there and got that ass ran.
I will give here's what I will say. It's not. I watch. Their quarterback transferred from last year, transferred to Cass Tech, so they had a up and comer. But
he ain't even playing quarterback.
I don't even know what that was, and I'm not really trying to knock the program because I do like coach and but that guy, you got to tell me. There's another kid that came. I think he was number 17. Looked like he was slinging the ball, but 13. The one thing about 13, he made the right reads. There's a lot of guys wide open. I mean, they found the holes and they in my mind, they exploited the certain defenses and coverages that were out there. But this guy couldn't, literally, when he said he couldn't hit the side of a building, he couldn't hit the side of a building.
I'm letting everybody in. If you listen to the show, you're getting exclusive access to the behind-the-scenes thoughts of a coach during warm-ups in high school football. This is me in high school football warm-ups. As a secondary coach, I'm always watching the receivers. I'm watching the quarterback. See what type of arm he got. See what type of ability the receivers got. I'm like, oh, that receiver, he's pretty good. It's good. And I'm looking at the quarterbacks. I'm like, okay, he's a decent thrower. Okay, this guy can't throw at all. I'm like, well, who's the starting quarterback? So then I kept looking. I'm like, I think 13 is the starting quarterback. I'm watching the way they're warming up. I'm like, I think 13 is the starting quarterback. So I walk over to Greg. I say, hey, this dude can't throw. And he's like, all right. I'm like, I grabbed him my arm. I was like, no, you don't understand what I'm saying. He cannot throw.
He could not throw.
Not like he can't, hit the slant. He cannot, he should not be throwing a football. That's how bad their quarterback is.
Here's an example. You ever play 500? There's a guy that was wide open. He was 5 yards behind DB. All he had to do was just throw a jump ball. The ball landed 2 yards beyond line of scrimmage after he threw it. Like, he was just not, and I don't know, if that's the best. I feel bad because Elijah, the young man we had in here last week, he played well, and there was a couple really big tackles that was a different ball game.
I will go on record as saying this, though. Elijah Collins is the best running back I think I might have seen in person in high school. I'm gonna be dead serious.
He got a second gear, bro.
That dude. I told the coaches. I said this at practice the other day. I said, look, Elijah Collins, that kid that sat here, if he goes to the right program and he puts on, he gets to that 205, 210 mark, that's an NFL running back. His acceleration is so off the charts for his age, and he's a physical guy. He don't look like he is.
So he shouldn't go as an athlete.
No, he's a running back. He's a running back. Okay. He could play in any division he wants to. I'm telling you, if Elijah, you're listening, that's a special talent. If he stays on the grind, gets in the weight room, gets into the right program where they put the right amount of weight on him, that guy's got NFL ability. I'm telling you, what I saw on that field, man, he did some things I said, wow. His acceleration, like you said, because he's a strider, but his second gear, it's like he was getting shot out of a cannon when he saw creeps. It looked a lot different than everybody else on the field. Yeah. And everybody wasn't slow. He's on a different gear. That guy's got some talent that you don't see every day. So watch out for him.
And you heard him first here on the Rocket.
You heard him first here. You heard his top six. His top six, I think he had Bowling Green. Bowling Green.
Purdue, Western Michigan.
Bowling Green, Western Michigan, and Purdue. Right? I think that's how it went.
Right. Yep. Okay. That's what I remember.
All right. So that was, I don't want to be too hard on people and teams like the West Bloomfield. I do want to say this, and like I said, we pull no punches here. I speak my mind. Seeing that game, saw some of the game and on film that some people sent me. And this was, I think Wall Lake Western is a good team. They have some good players. I thought, like you said, it was going to be a shootout. But with Wall Lake Western's got some new pieces that work out. But West Bloomfield this is a returning team that has a lot of
They're loaded.
They look like they got out coached on both sides of the ball. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Anybody's listening? I just call it how I see it being a coach. It looked like they didn't know what was going on defensively, like they were stunned, like they didn't. And
the only way I just seeing that team live, West Bloomfield, with the amount of talent they had on the field when we saw them live, I said the only way you slow that team down is inclement weather. That's what I thought. Watching their skill position.
Good day on the fast track. We played at Wayne State. That's a good track.
Yeah, it's a good track. I don't know how you put 14 points on the board with that type of talent.
Because I had picked them to win. And like you said, one of their touchdowns was a 50-yard
run by the quarterback, who's not a scrambler.
You got two Division I Big Ten receivers.
Well, not only do you got two on the outside, both going to Wisconsin.
You got a big tight end.
You got a big tight end who's a Division I recruit, and then you got the younger brother of Desmond Fitzpatrick, the slot, who's already getting Division I looks. I mean, they at the skill position, they are loaded. You know, our guy Dwayne Thompson. I mean, that cornerback. Both their corners are
shout out to Dwayne Thompson.
Dwayne
just committed
to Indiana State. Shout out to Dwayne. Congratulations. And then Colin Hurd, who's going, I think, to Howard. He's the other guy.
Yep.
And then they've got Lance Dixon, who's getting it. He's a junior or sophomore. 2000.
Between them and Cass Tech, probably have the most riches in the state.
Yeah, and to put up 14 points is inexcusable. So yeah, I'm sure they're gonna pick it up this week. You know, Bellamy's a good coach, so I'm sure they're gonna turn it around, put more points on the board, do something different. But Wall Lake definitely got the better hand that time, and we'll see where they go from there.
And just on a quick note, we'll be having Coach Z and Spencer Brown in here next week.
Spencer Brown, most recent Michigan State. He's a big dude.
Big boy. I told Dom after that, says big boys be walking through the doors, and I told him he's
6'6", 6'7".
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, when he was a freshman before his freshman year, I think he was 6'4", 185. He was a tight end type kid. He's really. Good player. Good player. He's shooting up charts. And he's a junior.
Grew 3 inches from freshman year to junior year.
Yeah, that's about right. I grew 5. I was 6 feet when I was a freshman, and by my junior year I was 6'5". So
he's going. Hold on, 3 inches and 100 pounds.
And 100 pounds.
I didn't go 100 pounds. I was about 40.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And he to be able to carry it. That's.
And he moves pretty good. He plays a good basketball player. It's good effort. I can't wait to talk to him.
I think Michigan State got a good recruit, a guy that's going to be able to fill in that left tackle. I think he's going to be a left tackle in college, and I think he's going to be a guy that's got a chance to be pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we got our Michigan High School football Week 2 games that we're going to go. So these aren't any specific, power or whatever, but first game we got Detroit King, who, like I said, defeated Indianapolis Cathedral, which is one of the top teams in Indiana. They will be taking on Toledo Catholic Central Friday night at 7. Toledo Catholic Central is a pretty good program up there. Since 2012, they've only lost 8 games. So this is going to be another. This to me, I picked Toledo CC. They're a little more physical, probably for the same reasons I picked Cathedral
over King.
Just listen to me. King's quarterback was probably the main reason they won, and it was because of what he had 170 yards on the ground. He's an average passer. If you can keep him in the pocket, keep him bottled up, and make him be a quarterback versus an athlete, I think Toledo CC is a traditional. They're a high-powered team. They ball control. I think if they can move. Now, granted, King's got an athlete, so I'm not saying it's going to be an asshole, but I just think sometimes you take the public schools versus the Catholic League schools. What you get is you get a little bit better in the trenches up front, and you get a little more discipline.
You know what? That might have been good like 10 years ago, but I think King's actually pretty good in the trenches. I like King to win this game by 2 touchdowns. I'm familiar with Toledo.
They're going down there too.
I understand that. That's not a tough trip for most Michigan teams to go down to Toledo. I mean, you go further to go to Ann Arbor.
All right.
So I like King to win that game. What's the next one you got?
I got number 2, Novi, Detroit Catholic Central versus Toledo Whitmer. They have in the past they've kind of rolled. I think they got a win where I think they're 4-2 against Whitmer. Yeah. But I picked CC to win. I think it's going to be a close game. They have a really good quarterback down there for Whitmer, and we'll see. And I don't know what they have. If they can stop the run. CC looks like last week I can't remember. Sterling High Stevenson, they just put it on the ground again and just gave it to him. So I'm gonna pull CC out to beat Whitmer. That's what I got.
I agree. I think CC beats Whitmer next week. I know Whitmer's got a pretty good quarterback, but Detroit Catholic Central, they returned both their starting linebackers. They got one of the better offensive linemen in the state, so they should be able to run the ball. They should be able to stop the run. They got some big guys up front, so I expect them to keep it on the ground. They're still trying to figure out what they're doing at quarterback as far as the passing game. So expected to see a lot of running attacks. Expect to see a short game. Expect to see CC win by 2 touchdowns.
Third game, Cass Tech versus Chicago Simeon, Friday at 7 p.m. Now, this one I know a little about Simeon. We had a couple guys from Rice that played, Purdue that played there. That's a good program. And I got Chicago winning, but the main reason is because Cass Tech's running back injured his ankle.
Yeah, you took it right out of my. I said Cass Tech is on high alert for going 0-2 to start the season. Simeon's a very good program.
And they're going. I think the game is in Chicago. I do believe.
The Square is out, who's a very good running back. The backup running back who transferred over from Southfield is very good, and I think he actually gives them a better chance as far as big playability. We'll see if Cass can pull this one out. I just can't imagine Cass going 0-2 with the type of program they have right now with all those recruits that came in from other schools, not recruits, football players.
Still comes down to the quarterback, and I guess their quarterback is average.
Yeah, well,
he's a good athlete, but as far as you talk about throwing the ball downfield, being accurate, completing timing routes, they are average.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fourth game, and this is always a big one at the beginning. It's kind of like this game always reminds me of the Florida-Georgia game. That's always really early in the. I'm sorry, the Florida-Tennessee game. That's always really early, third week of the season. This is Macomb, Dakota versus Eisenhower. Eisenhower beat Oak Park last week. Last year, Dakota gave to Eisenhower this game, but I think this is going to be a tight one, and I got Dakota winning. Dakota's got some talent. It's a big area out there. This is almost a bigger high school than Eisenhower, and I just like what they run out there. They lost some talent. They had some really good receivers last year, but Dakota they always got something for you.
And actually, I like Eisenhower this year. If you remember the game last year, Dakota had to come back from behind, and it was with a couple big plays to those receivers that aren't there anymore. I don't think Dakota's got the same type of horse that they had last year to make those plays. I think Eisenhower's got the better quarterback. He's a veteran. He's a senior this year. He leads his team to a 10-point win. So I got Eisenhower going 2-0 to start the season.
There you go. This one, it's up to you what you want to say. I know what the answer would be, but I have the fifth game is, and these were some of these, I kind of went off the list of the top 10 games of this week. You have Brother Rice Warriors versus Mishawaka Penn here at Hurley Field at 7 o'clock on Friday. I have Penn winning this week. Couple reasons. Mishawaka Penn, just like when I coached there against them last year, they have a college type offensive line. They have guys that are about 280, 290 pounds. Yeah. Not fleet of foot, but they're capable in what they do.
4 or 5 of them. And
they're one of the biggest schools. They have about 4,500 students down there at the school.
80 kids.
Where are they at?
Indiana.
Oh, okay.
So it's Indiana. It's kind of like when you get to our west side of the state, you get these little pockets, these little towns where there's only one high school.
They're about 30 minutes away from South Bend.
Yeah,
I remember 30 minutes from South Bend.
Okay.
So they have some talent.
We went there last year. I mean, it's a big school, big program.
Obviously, me having coached against this team last year, I kind of know what they bring and what they like to do. I think what I saw with Brother Rice last week against UAD, some of the issues that they had, if they don't correct them, there could be some holes open in the defense. Plus, their best defensive player got injured, not to the extent of what it is, but it seems like it may be serious. He may be out for an extended amount of time. Plus, just looking at the offense, and I know teams like to keep it vanilla. The offense looked pretty simplistic, and they lack a dominant running game. They got some gadget pieces, but there's not a workhorse there. And I think in a team like this, when you have a offensive and defensive front like this, you're going to have to be able to run the ball to win at least, to eat up some of the clock. So I don't know what the score is going to be. I'm not going to say a blowout, but I think it's a 14, maybe a 21-7 game.
Well, Brother Rice Penn, I've watched the tape, and I think of the 3 years that we played Penn, this is the least talented group. They do have the big size up front and off the line. Defensively, they're not a big group. They do have a very good defensive tackle and a free safety that's committed to Notre Dame. Offensively, their line is huge. They actually have Ron Pollis' son as the starting quarterback. He's a freshman. Yeah, he's a big kid. Got a big arm. He's not mobile. He's not the most mobile guy. He can still get it done. They like to run a QB power with him. The key to the game is going to be Brother Rice's defensive line able to be a gap control defense and get off of those blocks and be able to stop the QB power. I think if we can stop them on first down, we've got a chance. I like our chances against them drop back throwing the ball. I actually like Brother Rice to win this game 24-17.
Okay. And if you I just say all the fans out there, if you don't have a game to go to, definitely go check this out. Penn will travel well, and Brother Rice always has a good crowd in the game. So if you want to see a really good,
it's here.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay.
Early field, man. Come on.
You want to see a good game?
Bring Echo Network. Go live on the sideline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give state champs a run for their money.
Yeah. So
hey, just wanted to we're gonna close out. Just wanted to thank our sponsor, Beirut Palace. Just remember, hey, if you're looking for some dining out plans, go on their 4 restaurant locations. But if you're in Royal Oak, stop by Beirut Palace at 205 South Main Street, Nashville Mall, and tell them you heard about the restaurant on the Rock and Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. For more information, call them at 248-399-4600 or go to their website at www.beirutpalace.com. Do it today.
All right.
Also, Don, we had another sponsor today.
Yeah, we got a sponsor. I was over there earlier today and met with the owner and the manager and the Roke Brewery right
Roke.
here. Yeah, Roke Brewery.
That sound from Royal Oak. I like that.
I had most time obviously we don't have our players weren't able to make it today, so we had an adult show today. So I had an adult beverage in the show, and they had the handcrafted Belgian white power boat, and it was actually very delicious. So.
Quite tasty.
Hey, Turk, you know what? I'm going to trade you. I got an empty one. You're going to give me a full one?
I sure can do that.
So thanks. Shout out to Rope. Thanks a lot.
Shout out to
Rope
the Power
Brewery, right down the street from the Echo Network in downtown Royal Oak, Michigan. They are located on the corner of Troy Street and Lincoln, just east of Main Street, about a block and a half off the main drag there. So go check them out.
We got the Devil Dog, we got Power Boat, and they even got a new flavor called Motorboat. So if you're interested,
with some shawarma sandwiches, we had a feast in here today.
Delicious.
Motorboat with shawarma. Yeah. Thanks. Check them out, RokeBrewery.com, and tell them that the Rock and Turk Sports Show sent you.
Awesome.
And before we get out of here, just want to also let you know that today's show was sponsored and brought to you by Blaze Contracting.
Just Blaze?
Turk Sports Show is brought to you in part by Blaze Contracting Incorporated.
So they didn't make it?
I don't know. I'll tell you when everything's off.
Aggregate installations, land balance and grading, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water main installations throughout Michigan, Ohio, and Nevada. Blaze has successfully completed many high-profile projects and is a preferred vendor for many established major
So then we're just going to go roll right into the Junior Mafia.
and across America. Currently, Blaze has several major
I just
projects
got over here next week's college football weekend results, fantasy lineups for DraftKings and FanDuel, and obviously we got Wally Western coach and Coach Brown coming in or whatever.
What's his name on here?
Just say Wally Western coach. I can't pronounce that.
Development, construction process, upgrading, improving exterior property or infrastructure. You need to give Blaze a call. They can provide valuable assistance from the beginning stages all the way through the budgeting, design, and of course, the construction process phases of your project. You will experience the administrative ease provided by Blaze that will ensure that your project will be completed on time and within budget. Allow Blaze to light the fire for you that paves your road to success. Give them a call today. Call 313-361-1000 or visit their website at www.blazecontracting.com.
Well, that concludes another Rock and Turk Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in with us this week. If you were not able to hear the entire show, you can definitely catch us online at www.therockandturksportshow.com or hit us up on Twitter at The Rock and Turk Sports with a Z. You can email us on Gmail at therockandturksports@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on our Facebook page, The Rock and Turk Sports Show. That's at The Rock and Turk Sports Show. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to be talking about these college football games this week. Michigan versus Florida, Alabama, Florida State. There's a laundry list of big games. We got to summarize them and talk about week 2 in college football. We're also going to be talking about the fantasy football update. Rosters are going to be just doing their last second edits because that first game's next Thursday, just in a couple minutes away from the end of our show. So you need some last-minute advice, tune in here. Also, we're going to have Coach Z from Wall Lake Western, who had a big win week 1 against West Bloomfield, and their best player recently committed, Spencer Brown, who's headed to Michigan State, the big 6'7", 6'8", 209, 90-pound defensive offensive lineman. So we're going to talk to those guys. Make sure you tune in next week. Hit us up on all our social media issues. Email. Rocco, what you think?
I had a good time, man. I'm excited about it. Just again, want to thank our sponsors, Blaze, Beirut Palace, and Rogue Brewery. Also, for you guys, I'm going to be giving these, from here on out, I'm giving these lineups on this FanDuel and DraftKings. I don't do the whole season anymore. Listen in and you win some money. And if you do win some money, I'm getting my 10%. But I'm really good at this. I've won about 12 grand in the last couple years. So I know what I'm talking about, know what I'm doing. I may help you out, get you a couple dollars in your pocket. Other than that, I'm excited to watch this Ohio State game. It's about to kick off in 4 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta get home, man. Watch that game, man.
Yeah, man.
JT Barrett, man, this is his last game before he retired from college football.
Can't wait to get Turk's money in 2 years. Exciting.
All right, I'll have him build
Stafford!